Hey guys, how we doing? Cryptoinsightuk here, bringing you back another video. We've got a few things to discuss this week, and I thought I wanted to just bring it all into one video. I'm going to get into some TA. There's been loads of big news, as you know, this week. We're going to look at Bitcoin, we're going to look at XLM, we're going to look at the DXY, and we're going to finish off, obviously, talking about XRP. So stick around if you want to hear about my thoughts to do with that. There's going to be some speculation in here as well as TA this week, because I just want to talk about a few things. I'm just going to jump right into it. So I talked about this a few days ago on Twitter, basically that on a daily time frame, Bitcoin was forming a hidden bullish divergence, which is basically where the RSI or the oscillator is forming a lower low and the price action is forming a higher low. This actually went on to be quite a good call from me. This was on the 29th of August at 20+4, because preceding this, we got this news that Grayscale won their lawsuit against the SEC. This lawsuit was basically to say, why are you blocking us from turning our GBTC Grayscale Bitcoin Trust into a spot ETF, because you already have futures ETFs, and basically you're saying that there's reasons for protecting the market or whatever, and they are actually not true. And the judge agreed with Grayscale on this point. This is extremely interesting to me, because not only does it mean now that Grayscale potentially can convert this GBTC into a spot ETF, but as we know, the SEC have a lot of decisions coming up this week. In fact, I think it's 6 decisions, which I talked about in the end of this video. I think it's 6 decisions this week about other spot Bitcoin ETFs. Gary Gensler has a lot of egg on his face now. He could probably come out and save some of his blushes by approving some of these other ETFs. We also know that one of the names in there for the ETF, in the ETF bucket, is BlackRock. So they definitely have some sway on what Gary Gensler thinks. Just depends literally on what happens next. But another interesting statistic is that now Bloomberg analysts are saying we have a 75% chance of a Bitcoin ETF being approved. And before we go any further, a lot of people are saying, yeah, but if they get approved, it doesn't mean that the price is going to shoot up instantly. Well, actually, yes and no. It depends on the hype of the market, because on the speculation that more money is going to flow in with the approval of an ETF, that is when we would see the initial pump. We wouldn't start to see institutions move into the space probably for a little while, unless the institutions like BlackRock are already and set up for the Bitcoin ETF to be approved. Actual positive effects of the ETF itself might take a little while. However, speculation does normally front run any sort of positive price action. So when people say, oh, an ETF won't necessarily make the price go up, no, it won't necessarily, but speculation in any market, especially crypto, is what normally makes the price run up. In the last 3 to 4 cycles, we haven't really had much utility at all, and we've seen huge price performance based from speculation alone. This would be a massive catalyst for speculation, but with actual utility coming behind it. We spoke a few weeks ago about the potential new money coming into the space with an ETF. It would be enough to buy just over half the Bitcoin on exchanges with new capital. So imagine what that does for a price squeeze. Jumping into the charts now, looking at Bitcoin. We've had this bullish divergence, obviously broke out, which is lovely, and then I've just drawn on here some minor support, major support, and where we could possibly wick to, in my opinion, if we're going to continue this uptrend. So the minor support I can actually make more clear on the 4 hourly. As you can see on the 4 hourly, last time we broke out of this range, we did consolidate a little bit and then break further. So we had a first break up, consolidation, a little break, and then a further break after that. We're just now sitting on top of this tiny little consolidation here. We've wicked into that zone. We're holding it as support currently, looking for that next leg up. However, I do think it will be a slightly stronger structure if we came down and tested the top of this range, so around 26.8k as support before moving off. That would be within this area of consolidation as well. It is possible that we could reverse from here, but this support is weaker than we see or would be in here. Also, if we do consolidate in here, you could see a wick down to test the top of this range here before having a sharp push towards the upside. They're my potential possibilities for Bitcoin. Now we're going to jump on to talk about the DXY, because as I've said, the DXY is often inversely correlated with crypto, or at least when the DXY is coming down, it gives crypto some space to run. If you haven't already, go and check out our newsletter. You can find it right here, just on my profile right there, weekly insight on Substack, completely free to read, and that's where I'm going to get this information from. So I talked about the DXY for a long time in the newsletter this week. As you guys know, I've been talking about this potential trend and a lot on Twitter, and this is what I've been looking for to see if we can get this trend to continue. The DXY has been really, really hard to read recently, and that's why I started with this week, was I wrong? I've just been saying that the DXY looks like it's ready to roll over, and it has done for a while. However, it just keeps trying to deceive me and climbing. It's had 6 consecutive green weeks. There's only 2 times in history where it's had that before, which I can't zoom in very well. It's one there, and there's one there, and now we have the 6th one. We have the 3rd one here. So I am looking for a reversal. On both of those occasions, we did have a pullback after that happened. If we zoom out to the monthly time frame, we can see that the DXY has been downtrending since 1984, and I personally believe this trend will continue just based on how technical analysis works, not based on any of the fundamentals. And we zoom back into the daily time frame, and then this structure appears, which I've been talking about a lot. We have a bearish divergence, which is where we see a higher high on the oscillator, in this case the RSI, and a lower high in price action. I am looking for that trend to continue if we can form the lower high. And let's have a look at the DXY now and see what is going on there. So we're now on the daily time frame from the RSI. As you can see, guys, it has started to put in some red candles. That's 3 red candles consecutively. Today it looks like we're catching a bit of a bounce, but we're only early on in the day. It's actually on 0% or minus 0.01%. So as it stands, it's looking like my prediction could be coming into fruition if we continue. However, as I've said, this is a trend confirmation, a break of this 99.5 line, which is strong support because it's there at 100. I have a personal target down at 89.6. Some people think that that's a bit ridiculous, but I also call the top, and you can go through my newsletters and read that too, but it isn't about gloating. This is just about me talking about the DXY specifically. Honestly, I thought this would run down faster than it has. There's been a lot of trickery here. We need this to run down, the dollar to lose strength for assets to rally, or that's been the case in the past, as I've talked about. Another thing I talked about in the weekly insight, which was the newsletter, was this descending wedge in gold. As you can see right here, I talked about this. This comes out every Sunday. I talked about how it was in this area struggling to break through the moving averages, yet today and the last few days we've actually managed to have a clean break above those. On the day that Bitcoin rallied, when we broke out of this descending wedge, I said, could this be a bit of a precursor for Bitcoin breaking out? Normally when gold moves, it's when the DXY is moving down, and that could be a bit of a foreshadow for us to potentially see a rally in Bitcoin, and that actually did come into fruition as well. So it's important to keep your eyes all over the markets in these weird periods where no one's really sure where to put their money. The penultimate chart I want to talk about is XLM. We talked about this on Twitter with an XLM trade idea. I put this out on the 27th, which was like 4 days ago now. I said if you entered where XLM's current price action was, you would get a 5.45 risk reward. If you waited until it wicked into support, you could get a 7.88 risk reward. However, the issue with waiting to 7.88 was there's potential it could invalidate the higher low structure that it's been putting in. Look, so let's see what happened with XLM. As you can see, look, we have wicked into that support range on the day that Bitcoin took that pump. It didn't have huge volume, but it did have more than it has been recently. This would have activated your position if you had a buy order in there on XLM. What I would be looking for is a break of this line, which we've just seen. We've broken out with the Bitcoin volume. We're coming down. We're potentially back testing that trend line again for a further push off. I still think this is a great period to be looking at a trade for XLM, and I would have my take profit target up here at 18 cent to 19.5 cent. I actually personally do have a trade in XLM and a few other cryptos which I talk about in my private group. And basically that's it for this week, apart from this last piece of news, which is around XRP. I'm not going to do any XRP TA, but I will have some coming for you soon. Ripple are hosting a celebration on the 29th of September. I'm personally not going to be going because I've just moved to Dubai and I've got no cash really at the minute. It's all tied up. But one thing that's really interesting about this for me is, could we see some sort of settlement with the SEC? That's the circulation going around in terms of with Ripple and the SEC, especially now Gary Gensler's under even more pressure. He's got the Coinbase lawsuit coming up. He's lost the security designation of XRP. He's lost the Grayscale lawsuit. Is he going to make some sort of settlement with Ripple? to save his face, as well as the Bitcoin ETF, take some money off Ripple and say, look, I told you that altcoins were bad, I've made some money here, Ripple are free to trade in the US, and also approve a Bitcoin ETF to say, look, I'm not all bad about crypto, this is what I've been trying to show you, I'm just trying to be getting the space in order. That's how he could save his face, in my opinion. Do you guys think there will be some sort of settlement before the 29th of September? It's a very interesting time period right now. A lot of people calling for a crash in September, October. I think we'll probably have a retracement at some point, but I honestly don't see a crash unless we have a complete financial crash. And in that case, I don't know what would be safe, because I don't even think cash would be safe, because I think it's just as likely we have a fiat currency crisis as we do a stock market crash. But that's my own opinion. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like and comment and give it a share. It really helps me out. Obviously, this is all for free. And peace up, A-Town down until the next one.